Hello friends, welcome to the part 2 of chapter 5, that is planning at the army headquarter. Friends, today we'll give an in-depth exploration of one of the most critical period in the Indian military history. Today we will dive into the escalating tensions in the Kashmir that led to the First Indo-Pakistani War, a conflict that would shape the future of the subcontinent. Friends will examine the strategic deployment of the Indian forces, the integration of the state troops, and the coordination between central and the state authority to defend key regions like East Punjab, Rajputana, and Kathiawar. But that's not all, friends. This presentation also sheds light on the significant challenges faced by the Indian military during this time. From internal security duties and the outdated equipment to a shortage of experienced officers, we'll see how these hurdles impacted India's defense effort. Finally, friends, we'll discuss the vital need for the reinforcement and improved logistical support to sustain the military operations in the rugged terrain of the Kashmir. So, friends, join us as we journey through the complexity of this pivotal moment in the history, where every decision, every strategy, and every sacrifice play a crucial role in shaping the destiny of the nation. So let's jump in. Let's start with the first, that is military situations in India. Friends, November 1947, just month after independence, India faced its first major military conflict. The nation, still reeling from the partition, was confronted with a crisis in Jammu and Kashmir that threatened its very existence. As winter descended on the Himalayas, the Indian army was called to defend the Union against the Pakistani-backed tribal forces advancing into Kashmir. The soldiers faced not only a fierce enemy but also the unforgiving terrain and the freezing temperatures. Supplies were scarce, communication fragile, and the situations ever changing. These critical months of November and December 1947 would define the future of the region and the nation. The military operations during this time were more than maneuvers. They were acts of determination and patriotism, reflecting the spirit of a newly independent India. Friends, in this presentation, we'll explore those pivotal weeks, the strategies, challenges, and the bravery that shaped the destiny of Jammu and Kashmir and India itself. So, to cover the topic in the easy way, friends, we'll cover the military situations in India, November-December 1947, under following heads. First, we'll have a look on the overall military situations in India. Friends, with independence fresh and the wound of partition still raw, India was immediately plunged into the series of military challenges. From the volatile border with Pakistan to the internal unrest, the nation's security was under constant threat. Moving next we'll have a defense of the Indo-Pakistan frontier. Friends, our newly drawn borders with the Pakistan was fraught with tension. Both nations were in a state of flux, and skirmishes along the frontier highlighted the need for a robust defense strategy to protect Indian territory. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll have a look on the defense strategy of East Punjab. In this, friends, East Punjab, the region most affected by the partition, required special attention. The defense strategy here was crucial in preventing further incursion and ensuring the safety of refugees pouring in from the west. In Rajputana, friends, the vast desert posed a unique challenge. The defense strategy focused on securing key routes and ensuring that the princely state aligned with the India remained protected from external and internal threat. Moving next about the Kathiawar, friends, Kathiawar with its coastal expanse required a strategy that balanced land defense with the need to protect the sea routes. Ensuring the security of this region was vital for the overall defense of the Western India. We'll discuss about the problem of Hyderabad, that is the princely state of Hyderabad presented a significant challenges as Nizam sought independence. The Indian government had to prepare for potential military action while navigating a complex political situation. Next, we'll have about the air support. Friends, air support was a game changer in this period. The fledgling Indian Air Force played a critical role in reconnaissance, troop movement, and providing crucial support to ground operations across multiple fronts. Friends, at this time, both the Indian Army and the Air Force were in the state of rapid reorganization. The challenges they faced were immense, from logistics to training, but their resolve remained unshaken. Next, we'll have a look and we'll talk about the Defense Committee decision, that is on November 28th, friends, 1947. Key decisions were made by the Defense Committee that would influence the course of military operations. And these decisions laid the groundwork for how India would respond to the crisis on multiple fronts. Reinforcing the Jammu and Kashmir division was crucial as the main theatre of conflict. This region needed immediate and substantial support, both in terms of manpower and logistics, to counter the advancing forces. And last, friends, we'll conclude the topic. In this, we'll discuss that the military situation in India during November and December 1947 was a defining moment for the newly independent nations. And despite the odds, India's strategic decision and the bravery of its forces laid the foundation for the country's future defense. Let's move into it, friends. First, we'll have a look on the overall military situations in India. Friends, first, we'll have a look on the escalating tensions in Kashmir. In the final month of November 1947, the newly independent India found itself on the brink of war. The serene valley of Kashmir, once known for the breathtaking beauty, had become a battleground. The cause is that the tribal invasion from Pakistan. As tribal militias supported by Pakistan stormed into Kashmir, the region quickly became the focal point of escalation tension between India and Pakistan. Both nations, still reeling from the trauma of partition, now laid claim to Kashmir, the land of strategic importance and symbolic value. For India, the defense of Kashmir was not just about protecting its border, but about upholding the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. The invasion triggered a series of military maneuvers that would define the conflict, leading to the first of many wars between these two neighboring nations. Gentlemen, this period marked the beginning of the prolonged and a complex conflict that would shape the future of South Asia. The stakes were incredibly high as both Pakistan and India sought to assert their claim over Kashmir. And with the world attention increasingly focused on this volatile region. Moving next about the deployment of Indian military forces. As the tribal invasion of Kashmir intensified, India faced a critical decision. The stakes were clear: either defend Kashmir and assert its territorial claim, or risk losing the region to advancing Pakistani forces. In response, India launched a swift and determined military deployment to Kashmir. Within hours, troops were airlifted into Srinagar, the capital of Jammu and Kashmir, marking the beginning of a crucial military operation. And these soldiers, many of whom were young and untested in battle, were tasked with defending the region's strategic point and halting the enemy's advance. The deployment was not just about military might, it was a race against time. And with winter approaching, securing the valley before the harsh condition set in was imperative. The Indian Army Rapid Response showcased both its resolve and the logistic challenges of operation in one of the world's most difficult terrain. As the soldiers braved the cold and the treacherous landscape, their mission was clear: to safeguard Kashmir, protect its people, and ensure that the region remained an integral part of India. Moving next about the emergence of the First Indo-Pakistani War. Friends, as Indian forces swiftly mobilized to defend Kashmir from the tribal invasion, the situation on the ground rapidly escalated. What began as a targeted military deployment to the protect territorial claim soon spiraled into a broader and a more intense confrontation. The clashes in the Kashmir between Indian troops and the advancing Pakistani-backed forces marked the beginning of a conflict that would soon engulf both nations in their first full-scale war. The deployment of Indian forces, initially intended to stabilize the region, inadvertently set the stage for a much larger conflict, the First Indo-Pakistani War. Friends, as the fighting intensified, both India and Pakistan committed more troops and resources. turning Kashmir into the epicenter of a fierce struggle for control. This strategic significance of the region, combined with the deep-seated national aspirations on both sides, ensured that this was no ordinary conflict. The war fought across the challenging terrains of Kashmir saw intense battle in the key areas like Uri, Punch and Baramulla. And these clashes, often brutal and hard-fought, underscore the determination of both nations to assert their claim over Kashmir. The conflict not only shaped the immediate military landscape but also laid the foundation for the enduring rivalry between India and Pakistan. The rivalry that would have profound and lasting the geopolitical implication for South Asia. Moving next, let's start with the introduction. Friends, amid the tumultuous backdrop of India's independence, once princely state should defined Hyderabad. The heart of Deccan Hyderabad was ruled by Nizam, one of the richest men in the world, who sought to keep his state independent, refusing to join either India or Pakistan. And this decision placed Hyderabad at odds with the Indian government, creating a significant crisis that threatened the unity of the newly formed nation. As other princely states chose to accede to India, Hyderabad's refusal became a glaring anomaly. The Nizam's ambition for independence were backed by his substantial resources and a private army, making the situation all the more complex. For India, allowing Hyderabad to remain independent was not an option. It was a matter of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the principles that no state could stand apart from the Union. The standoff led to a decisive military response from the Indian government. In a swift, strategically planned operation, codenamed Operation Polo, Indian forces moved to integrate Hyderabad into the Union of India. And this operation was more than just a military action, it was a statement to the world that India would not tolerate any challenges to this unity. The Hyderabad accession crisis was a pivotal moment, showcasing India's determination to consolidate its territory and emerge as a cohesive, united nation. Next, we'll talk about the integration with the princely states. Friends, as India emerged as an independent nation in 1947, it faced not only the monumental task of rebuilding after centuries of colonial rule, but also the delicate challenge of integrating over 500 princely states into the newly formed union. These states, each with its own ruler, customs, and aspirations, were scattered across the subcontinent, and their reluctance to accede to India posed a significant threat to the country's unity. For many of these princely states, the end of the British rule offered a chance to assert their independence. Some rulers, like the Nizam of Hyderabad, hoped to maintain their autonomy, with others wavered unsure of their place in the new order. And this reluctance created a patchwork of independent territories within the boundaries of India, complicating the vision of a unified nation. The Indian government, led by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and the VP Menon, undertook a determined campaign to persuade and, where necessary, pressure into these states into joining the union. And this was not just about political control, it was about creating a cohesive and a stable nation, ensuring that no part of the subcontinent could threaten the unity and integrity of India. Through a combination of diplomacy, negotiations, and in some cases military intervention, India successfully integrated the vast majority of these states. The process was fraught with tension, but it was crucial for the survival of the nation. The challenge of integrating the princely states was a pivotal chapter in India's journey to becoming a unified and a sovereign country. Next, we'll talk about securing the Indo-Pakistani border. Friends, as the flames of the conflict in the Kashmir began to spread, the Indian military faced another urgent challenge: securing the volatile Indo-Pakistan border. And this border, hastily drawn in the wake of partition, had become a flashpoint for rising tension between the two newly formed nations. The partition of 1947 left behind a legacy of unresolved disputes, with our Indo-Pakistan border being one of the most contentious. The situation in Kashmir not only added fuel to the fire, but with both countries jockeying for countries in a region where allegiances were divided and the stakes were incredibly high. For India, establishing control and security along with this critical border was not just about defending its territory, but also about preventing the conflict in Kashmir from spilling over into other regions. Friends, the Indian military was tasked with fortifying the border, deploying the troops to key areas, and setting up defense positions that would deter any further aggression. And this mission was fraught with challenge. The terrain was unforgiving, the lines of communication was fragile, and the threat of skirmishes was ever present. Yet, the Indian forces moved swiftly to secure the border, understanding that any breach could have catastrophic consequences for the fledgling nations. Securing the Indo-Pakistani border during this period was not just a military operation, it was a crucial act of stabilization in a region on the brink of chaos. It was about maintaining order, asserting sovereignty, and ensuring that India's border remained inviolate amidst the growing storm of conflict in Kashmir. Moving next we'll have a word, we'll look into the defense of Indo-Pakistan frontier. Friends, first we'll talk about improbability of declared war by Pakistan. Amidst the growing tension along the Indo-Pakistani frontier, one crucial factor loomed large in the mind of Indian military planners: the improbability of declared war by Pakistan. Despite the escalating conflict in Kashmir, Pakistan was unlikely to risk a full-scale war with India. The reason is that the India clear military superiority and its strong global diplomatic support. On the ground, India had a larger and more organized military forces, capable of defending its vast border and engaging in extended conflict if necessary. The Indian army, through young as well equipped and rapidly fortifying key positions along the frontier, making any large-scale offensive by Pakistan a daunting prospect. On the international stage, India enjoyed significant diplomatic backing from the key global powers. The world was watching, and the Pakistan, still in its formative years, could ill afford to jeopardize its position by declaring war. The risk of international condemnation and potential isolation was too great. For Pakistan, the strategy was more about leveraging irregular forces and fostering localized conflicts, particularly in Kashmir, rather than engaging in a direct confrontation that could spiral into a full-blown war. Friends, this strategic calculation by Pakistan meant that while skirmishes and proxy battles continued along a frontier, the likelihood of a declared war remained low. India, aware of these dynamics, focused on strengthening its defenses and ensuring that any potential threat could be met with the overwhelming force, deterring Pakistan from taking the conflict beyond the border skirmishes. Next, we'll talk about potential for large-scale tribal raids. Friends, while the likelihood of the full-scale declared war between India and Pakistan remained low, another more unpredictable threat that loomed large along the Indo-Pakistan frontier had the potential for large-scale tribal raids. In the lawless region of the Northwest Frontier Province, various tribal groups, driven by their own interest and often motivated by the promise of loot, posed a serious threat to the fragile peace. And these tribes, known for their fierce independence and warrior culture, had little regards for the national borders, and the raids could be both unorganized and highly disruptive. Friends, unlike a conventional military threat, these tribal raids were unpredictable and could strike without warning. The mountainous terrain they operated in providing them with a natural cover, making it difficult for regular forces to anticipate and counter their movement. These raids were not just about territorial gains, they were about destabilizing the region, spreading chaos, and testing the resolve of the newly independent Indian state. Friends, for India, this meant that securing the frontier was not just about fortifying positions against a regular army, but also about preparing for the kind of unconventional warfare that these tribal groups could wage. The Indian military had to remain vigilant, constantly patrolling and reinforcing the border areas to prevent these lawless elements from crossing over and wreaking havoc. The threat of large-scale tribal raids added another layer of complexity to already tense situation on the Indo-Pakistan frontier, forcing India to adapt its strategies to address both conventional and irregular threats. Moving next, friends, as tension is simmered along the Indo-Pakistan frontier, threat of raids loomed large, particularly in region close to the volatile border. And among the areas most at the risk were East Punjab, the Rajputana states, and Kathiawar territories that lay previously close to the line of conflict. Friends, East Punjab is still reeling from the upheaval of partition was a prime target. The region's proximity to the border and its significance as a refuge for displaced populations made it vulnerable to cross-border incursions. The Indian military anticipated that any raid in this area could have devastating consequences, further destabilizing an already fragile region. Similarly, the Rajputana states, with their expansive desert landscape and strategic route, were also expected to face potential raids. The rugged terrain offered numerous opportunities for small, mobile groups to cross the border undetected, launching sudden and uncoordinated attack on vulnerable villages and towns. Further south, Kathiawar was another likely target. With its coastal proximity and limited defenses at the time, this region could be exposed to raids from both land and sea. The possibility of these raids was a serious concern as they could disrupt trade routes and unsettle the local populations. Friends, for India, these regions were not just geographical locations, they were front lines in the ongoing effort to secure the nation's border. Anticipating the threat, Indian forces were tasked to strengthening defenses, increasing patrols, and working closely with the local authorities to protect these high-risk areas from the unexpected or expected raids. Moving next we'll have a look on the defense strategy for the East Punjab. Friends, with the East Punjab sitting at the crossroad of a volatile Indo-Pakistan frontier, the need for a robust defense strategy was paramount. The region, already scared by the horrors of partition, was vulnerable to the cross-border raids that could further destabilize its fragile security. To counter this threat, the Indian military implemented a decisive strategy: the deployment of infantry divisions and brigades to bolster the ground forces across East Punjab. This strategic move was designed to create a formidable defense line, capable of repelling any incursions that might arise from the unpredictable border situation. These infantry divisions were not just about numbers, they represented a highly organized and well-coordinated force, equipped and prepared to respond swiftly to any threats. Brigades were strategically positioned in key areas, ensuring that all potential entry points for the raids were covered. Their presence served both as a deterrent to would-be attackers and as a reassurance to the local population that the Indian army was there to protect them. Friends, by reinforcing East Punjab with these ground forces, India was taking a proactive stance in defending its territory. The deployment of infantry division and brigade not only strengthened the region's security but also demonstrated India's commitment to maintain stability and order along its critical border areas. To further fortify East Punjab against potential cross-border raids, the Indian military didn't just rely on infantry division and brigades. Recognizing the need for agility and enhanced firepower, they brought in crucial reinforcements: the light armored and medium regiment of Royal Indian Army. These units provided the much needed mobile firepower and reconnaissance capabilities that were essential for defending the border region. Light armored vehicles, with their speed and versatility, could quickly respond to any sudden threat, moving across the varied terrain of East Punjab with ease. Their presence ensured that Indian forces could not only hold their ground but also actively pursue and neutralize any raiders who attempted to breach the border. The medium regiment, equipped with more powerful artillery, added an extra layer of defense. These units could deliver precise and devastating firepower, supporting the infantry in holding key positions and deterring larger organized incursions. The combination of mobility and firepower meant that the Indian Army was prepared for both defensive and offensive operations, able to adapt quickly to the fluid dynamics of the frontier. Friends, this integration of light armored and medium regiment with the infantry created a balanced and a formidable defense strategy for East Punjab. It was not just about holding the line, it was about ensuring that any threat could be met with overwhelming force, protecting the region and its people from the danger lurking across the border. Friends, after independence, India's challenge was securing its vast border. But success was not just in numbers, it was in knowledge. Inspired by the insight from S.N. Prasad and Dharampal, India made a pivotal move, integrating state forces from the princely states into the national defenses. These local forces knew the land like the back of their hand. And by incorporating them, India didn't just add manpower, it enhanced its strategic advantage. Soldiers who could predict raids, navigate hidden paths, and understand every nuance of the terrain were now part of the defense. And this integration was not just about protection, it was about unity. Former regional soldiers now stood with the Indian troops, creating a formidable force that ensured every inch of the border was secure. Moving next we'll have look into the defense strategy for Rajputana. Friends, in the vast desert of Rajputana, the threat of cross-border raids from tribal elements was a serious concern. To safeguard this critical region, India implemented a robust defense strategy, focusing on the deployment of an infantry battalion and a field regiment in Ajmer. Ajmer, strategically located in the heart of Rajputana, became the focal point for bolstering ground forces. The infantry battalion was tasked with providing a strong defensive presence, ready to respond swiftly to any incursions. Meanwhile, the field regiment, equipped with artillery, added a crucial layer of support, ensuring that any potential raiders could be met with decisive firepower. And this deployment was not just about numbers, it was about creating a deterrent that could make any cross-border raids a costly endeavor for the attackers. And by reinforcing Ajmer, India demonstrated its commitment to protecting the Rajputana states, ensuring that the region remained secure amidst the volatile post-independence environment. Friends, moving next friends, in the strategically vital Rajputana regions, India leveraged the deep local knowledge and resources for state forces from Bikaner and Jodhpur to strengthen its defense strategy along the volatile Indo-Pakistan border. These state forces, deeply familiar with the harsh desert terrain and the unique challenges of the region, were invaluable in enhancing security. This intimate understanding of the land allowed for more effective patrols, better reconnaissance, and quicker identification of the potential threat. And by integrating these local forces into the border defense plan, India not only bolstered its military presence but also sharpened its intelligence gathering capabilities. The collaboration with Bikaner and Jodhpur troops ensured that the Indian Army had eyes and ears on the ground, turning local expertise into a powerful asset for border security. The strategic utilization of state forces from Bikaner and Jodhpur played a crucial role in maintaining stability along the Rajputana frontiers, making it difficult for any hostile elements to launch successful cross-border raids. Moving next we'll have a look on the coordination between center and state forces. Friends, in the face of potential tribal incursion along the volatile Indo-Pakistan border, the Rajputana states required more than just localized defense. they needed a unified and a cohesive strategy. And to achieve this, the Indian government implemented a coordinated effort between central and state forces. The collaboration between the Central Indian Army and the state forces from Bikaner, Jodhpur, and other Rajputana states was key to ensuring an effective defense. And this coordination allowed for the seamless integration of the local expertise with national military strength, creating a robust and adaptive defense network. Friends, regular communication and joint operations ensured that both central and state forces operated as a single cohesive unit. And this unity was crucial in responding swiftly to any threats, ensuring that no part of the Rajputana frontier was left vulnerable. The combined effort enhanced intelligence sharing, strategic planning, and on-ground execution, making the defense strategy both comprehensive and resilient. And through this coordinated approach, India was able to protect the Rajputana states effectively, deterring tribal incursion and maintaining stability in a region crucial to the nation's security. Moving next we'll have a look on the defense strategy for Kathiawar. Friends, in the strategically vital region for Kathiawar, the Indian military took decisive steps to secure the area against potential cross-border raids by tribal elements. Key to this defense strategy was the deployment of infantry battalion in the cities of Rajkot and Ahmedabad. Gentlemen, Rajkot and Ahmedabad, both critical hubs in the Kathiawar, were chosen as the strategic point for bolstering ground forces. The deployment of infantry battalion in these locations ensured that the region was well defended, creating a solid line of defense against any incursion from across the border. And these infantry battalion brought both manpower and tactical expertise to the region, ready to respond quickly to any threats. Positioned at these strategic locations, they could effectively cover a wide area, providing the necessary support to the local forces and ensuring that Kathiawar remained secure. Friends, this deployment was more than just a show of strength. It was a calculated move to safeguard Kathiawar people and its crucial infrastructure, reinforcing India's commitment to protecting its border from any external threat. Gentlemen, in the strategically sensitive region of Kathiawar, the Indian government recognized the value of local expertise in securing the volatile India-Pakistan border. And to strengthen its defense strategy, India integrated the state forces of Kathiawar into its broader military operations. These local forces, deeply familiar with the region's geography and cultural landscape, played a crucial role in enhancing security and intelligence gathering. Their knowledge of terrain, including hidden paths and the remote areas, allowed for more effective patrols and quicker identification of the potential threat. Friends, by leveraging the resource and the insight of Kathiawar state forces, India was able to create a more nuanced and responsive defense strategy. These troops not only bolstered the region's military presence, but also provided critical intelligence that helped to anticipate and prevent cross-border incursions. Friends, the integration of Kathiawar state forces ensured that the defense of the region was not just about numbers, but about strategic insight and local understanding, making the border more secure and the overall defense more resilient. Moving next, friends, in the face of potential tribal incursion along the Kathiawar border, India's defense strategy hinged on seamless coordination between center and the state forces. And by working together, these forces ensured a cohesive and effective defense that protected the regions from an external threat. Friends, the Central Indian military brought in their expertise, resources, and broader strategic vision, while the Kathiawar state force contributed with their deep local knowledge and familiarity with the terrain. This collaboration allowed for better intelligence sharing, quicker response time, and more effective patrols, making the defense strategy both comprehensive and adaptable. Gentlemen, Regular joint operations and coordination planning sessions ensured that both center and state forces operated as a unified front. And this unity was crucial for responding swiftly to any threat and ensuring that no part of Kathiawar was left vulnerable. And through this coordinated effort, India successfully fortified Kathiawar, deterring tribal incursion and maintaining stability in a region critical to the nation's security. Moving next we'll understand about the problem of Hyderabad. Amid the birth of new nation, one princely state stood defiant, Hyderabad. Rich, powerful, and strategically important, Hyderabad's refusal to join India sparked a crisis that would test the very foundation of the young country. The Nizam of Hyderabad, determined to keep his state independent, created a standoff that quickly spiraled into the major flashpoint. As the days passed, the situation in the Hyderabad grew more volatile. The Nizam's resistance was not just a political statement, it became a symbol of defiance that threatened to unravel the hard-won unity of India. Reports of unrest and the Nizam's private army preparing for the conflict pushed tension to the brink. India could not afford to let Hyderabad remain a rogue state in the heart of the region. The stakes were too high. The Indian government knew it had act decisively. Enter Operation Polo, a bold and calculated military operation designed to bring Hyderabad into the folds and secure the nation's unity. This was more than just a military maneuver. It was a battle for the soul of India. The operations required significant force, a clear signal that India would not back down. The message was loud and clear: Hyderabad would be part of India no matter the cost. Friends, Hyderabad was not just any princely state. It was a powerhouse with a well-equipped and disciplined army. As the Nizam resisted joining India, this formidable force posed a significant challenge to the nation's effort to consolidate control. Hyderabad's army was no ordinary force. Boasting modern weapons, armored vehicles, and a large number of troops, it was one of the most powerful military setups among the princely states. The Nizam force were well prepared and they were determined to defend the state independence at all costs. For India, this was not just a political standoff, it was a looming military conflict. The strength of Hyderabad's force meant that any attempt to integrate the state would not be easy. Indian military planners had to prepare for a tough battle, knowing that they were up against a well-armed opponent capable of putting up fierce resistance. Friends, the strength of Hyderabad army made Operation Polo a high-stake operation, where the outcome would not only decide the fate of the Hyderabad but also the future of India's unity. Moving next we'll discuss about the need for substantial show of force. Gentlemen, faced with the Hyderabad's defiance and the formidable strength of its well-equipped army, India knew that a mere negotiation would not be enough. And to secure the state accession and preserve nation's unity, a substantial show of force was necessary. India had to strategically position its troops around Hyderabad, deploying reinforcement on a massive scale. This was not just about numbers, it was about sending a clear and undeniable message. The Indian government was prepared to use its full military might to integrate Hyderabad into the Union, leaving no room for resistance. Friends, tanks rolled into positions, aircraft were readied, and soldiers prepared for what could be a decisive battle. Every move was calculated, ensuring that Hyderabad's leader understood the futility of further defiance. The sheer presence of Indian forces surrounding the state was intended to compel the Nizam to reconsider his stance. This show of force was not just about intimidation, it was about ensuring that India's message of unity was heard loud and clear. The substantial military deployment around Hyderabad was a crucial step in Operation Polo, leading to the eventual accession of the state and the solidification of India's sovereignty. Let's talk about some air support. Friends, in the high stakes of conflicting surrounding Hyderabad and the volatile Indo-Pakistan border, air support emerged as a crucial element of India's defense strategy. The Indian Air Force played a vital role, not only in securing the skies over the Hyderabad, but also in bolstering defenses along the tense western frontier. As the situation in Hyderabad escalated, friends, the threat of air attack became a real concern. And to counter this, India's air support was deployed to ensure dominance in the skies, providing a protective shield for ground forces and deterring any potential aerial strikes from hostile elements. And this air presence was essential in maintaining the upper hand and securing Hyderabad's integration into India. Simultaneously, along the Indo-Pakistan border, air support was indispensable for defending against potential incursion and providing close air support to army formations. The rugged terrain and the volatile condition demanded rapid and flexible response capabilities, which the Indian Air Force delivered. Friends, from the reconnaissance mission to direct airstrike, the Air Force ensured that the Indian ground troops had the necessary cover and intelligence to operate effectively. And this dual role of air support, both in Hyderabad and on western frontier, was a cornerstone of India's border military strategy. It ensured that India could not only defend its border but also project power where it was needed most, securing the nation's interest during the critical time. Friends, in the face of growing threats along the Indo-Pakistan border and tense situation in Hyderabad, India knew that achieving air superiority was crucial. And to secure the skies and protect its ground forces, the Indian forces deployed the formidable Tempest Squadron, fighter planes renowned for their speed, agility, and firepower. And this Tempest Squadron were not just for show, they provided a significant boost to India's air capabilities, ensuring dominance in the air and enhancing the ability to strike target on the ground with the precision. This deployment was a game changer, giving India the edge it needed to safeguard the region from cross-border incursion and potential aerial threats. With their powerful engine and heavy armament, the Tempest was perfect for both air-to-air combat and ground attack missions. They patrolled the skies over the volatile frontier and Hyderabad and ready to respond to any incursion swiftly and decisively. Their presence alone was a deterrent, signaling to any adversary that the Indian Air Force was prepared to defend its territory with overwhelming force. Friends, the deployment of Tempest Squadron was not only secured air superiority but also provided critical close air support to ground troops, making India's defense strategy more robust and effective. It was a key element in maintaining control over the region during a time of heightened tensions. Friends, as the tension escalated along the Indo-Pakistan border and in Hyderabad, India faced a new and pressing threat: the possibility of aerial bombardment by hostile forces. Protecting key infrastructure and population center from these potential attacks became a top priority. And to safeguard the vital assets, India established a comprehensive air defense network. Anti-aircraft guns were strategically positioned around the critical infrastructure, from communication hubs to transportation networks. Radar installations were deployed to detect incoming threats early, ensuring that the Indian Air Force could respond swiftly and effectively. Friends, fighter planes were kept on high alert, ready to intercept any enemy aircraft that dared to cross into the Indian airspace. And this air defense strategy was not just about protecting buildings and roads. It was about ensuring the safety of millions of people living in these vulnerable areas. The goal was clear: to create an impenetrable shield that would deter any aerial attack and, if necessary, neutralize them before they could inflict damage. Friends, by securing the skies, India could maintain stability and confidence, even in the face of escalating threats. Next, we'll talk about the state of the Army and Air Force. Friends, as India navigated the turbulent early years of independence, the Indian Army and the Air Force found themselves stretched thin, facing a significant challenge from within. Internal security duties, ranging from managing civil unrest to safeguarding key installations, placed a heavy burden on the nation's military force. These internal responsibilities, while crucial for maintaining stability in the newly independent country, came at a cost. The Army and the Air Force were increasingly diverted from their primary mission of preparing for conventional warfare. Resources that would typically be dedicated to training, equipment maintenance, and strategic planning were instead consumed by the demands of internal security. Soldiers who should have been sharpening their combat skills on the battlefield were now deployed in the cities and towns, managing communal tensions and providing disaster relief. The Air Force too found its aircraft and personnel engaged in non-combat roles, from surveillance over sensitive areas to airlifting supplies during emergencies. This strain on the Indian military force, friends, posed a significant risks. As the threat of external aggression loomed, particularly along the volatile Indo-Pakistan border, the ability of the Army and Air Force to respond effectively was compromised. Friends, the diversion of the resources and focus from the conventional warfare left gaps in preparedness, making it harder to maintain the level of readiness and required to defend the nations against potential external threat. At the time when India's security was paramount, the Indian military faced a critical challenge, that is of outdated equipment and poor maintenance. These issues severely hampered the operational readiness and effectiveness of the nation's armed forces. Many of the vehicle, aircraft, and weapons in use had been inherited from the colonial era. Designed for a different time and purpose, they were ill-suited for the modern warfare scenario that India now faced. The aging equipment not only struggled to keep pace with the demand of current operations, but also posed serious reliability and concern. Maintenance too was a significant issue. The strain of continuous use, especially in the harsh condition, took its toll on machinery that was already well past its prime. With limited resources and infrastructure for repair, keeping its outdated equipment in operational condition became a daily struggle for the military. Friends, these equipment and maintenance challenges left India's forces vulnerable. The ability to respond quickly and effectively to threat was compromised, as unreliable vehicle and weapon could fail at the crucial moments. In an environment where every second counted, these shortcomings in the military readiness could mean the difference between success and failure. The Indian military effectiveness was undermined not by the lack of will or bravery, but by the very tool they had to work with, that is, the tools that were no longer up to the tasks. Friends, amidst the challenge faced by the Indian Armed Forces during this critical period, one issue loomed large: the shortage of the experienced officers. This gap in the leadership deeply impacted the effectiveness of military operations, particularly during critical situations. After independence, the sudden departure of British officers left a significant void in the leadership ranks. The Indian military was rapidly expanding, but the pool of seasoned officers with the necessary experience to lead in complex, high-pressure environment was limited. And this shortage meant that many young, relatively inexperienced officers were thrust into the leadership roles, often having to make split decisions in the heat of the battle. While these officers were dedicated and courageous, the lack of seasoned mentors and commanders made it difficult to navigate the complexity of military strategy and operations. Friends, the absence of experienced leadership affected everything from strategic planning to on-to-the-ground decision-making. In critical situations where quick and effective response were essential, this gap in experience could and sometimes did led to the costly mistakes. And for military force facing external threats and internal challenges, the shortage of experienced officers was not just a logistical issue. It was a fundamental challenge that could undermine the effectiveness of India's defense effort. Coming on to Defense Committee decision, which took place on 20th November 1947. Friends, on November 28, 1947, as the Kashmir conflict intensified, India Defense Committee made a pivotal decision that would shape the course of the war. The focus on capturing Domel. This decision was crucial for securing a critical supply route and enabling further advancement from Uri, a key strategic location in the region. Gentlemen, Domel, situated at the confluence of the Jhelum and Kishanganga River, was more than just a small town. It was a gateway, and capturing Domel means securing a vital supply lines that was essential for sustaining military operations in the rugged and contested terrain of Kashmir. Without control over Domel, advancing troops from Uri would face severe logistical challenges, making it difficult to maintain momentum in the campaign. Gentlemen, for the Indian forces, the road from the Uri to Domel was not just a path, it was a lifeline. And securing Domel would allow them to move troops, weapons, and supplies efficiently, ensuring that the front lines remained strong and well supported. Moreover, controlling Domel would disrupt the enemy's supply routes, weakening their positions and opening the door for further advance into the key areas of Kashmir. Gentlemen, the Defense Committee decision to prioritize Domel underscored its strategic importance. It was not just about winning a battle, it was about securing the logistical backbone that would enable India to assert control over entire region. As Indian troops advanced in the Kashmir region, they encountered not just an enemy force, but the formidable challenge posed by the environment itself. The harsh terrain, limited infrastructure, and complex supply chain issues created significant logistical hurdles, making every step forward a battle in its own right. Kashmir rugged mountains, deep valleys, and unpredictable weather were the constant test for the troops. Roads were few and far between, often little more than treacherous dirt tracks that wound through dangerous passes. Transporting supplies, equipment, and reinforcement over such terrain required immense effort and coordination, often at a painstakingly slow pace. The limited infrastructure in the region compounded were these difficulties, and with few established bases and minimal access to reliable transportation routes, ensuring that troops received the necessary provision, that is food, ammunition, and medical supplies, which became a monumental task. Supply convoy had to navigate narrow, winding roads under the threat of ambush and landslides, making resupply mission perilous and unpredictable. Friends, these logistical challenges stretched the Indian military resources to the limit. Soldiers not only had to fight the enemy but also endure the relentless hardship of the environment. And despite these obstacles, the determination to secure Kashmir and protect the nations drove them to push forward, adapting and overcoming the odds in one of the most challenging theaters of operations. The struggle against this logistical challenge was a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of Indian troops, who faced the dual battle of warfare and unforgiving terrain with courage and resolve. As the conflict along the Indo-Pakistan border and in Kashmir intensified, the condition of the Indian troops became increasingly concerning. Fatigued from the relentless operation and under-equipped for the harsh realities of the battlefield, these soldiers faced immense challenge in defending the front lines and advancing toward strategic objectives. Months of continuous engagement in demanding terrain had taken a toll on the troops. The harsh environment, coupled with the constant threat of enemy action, left many soldiers physically and mentally exhausted. Their equipment, already stretched thin, was often outdated or worn, making it difficult to maintain the high level of readiness needed for the effective operation. The situation underscored a critical need for reinforcement, both in terms of manpower and resources. Additional troops were essential to relieve the fatigued forces, allowing them time to rest and recuperate. Fresh units could bring renewed energy and focus to the mission, ensuring that the momentum of the operations was not lost. The call for reinforcement was not just about bolstering numbers, it was about providing the necessary resources to sustain the fight and achieve victory. And without this critical support, the ability to defend the Indo-Pakistan border and secure strategic goal would remain at risk. Next, we'll talk about the reinforcement plan for Jammu and Kashmir division. Gentlemen, with the situation in Jammu and Kashmir growing, increasingly volatile, the need to reinforce the region's defenses become a top priority. And to counter potential Pakistani advances and secure the territory, India initiated a crucial plan to deploy additional battalion to the Jammu and Kashmir division. These reinforcements were more than just numbers, they were essential for bolstering the ground forces already stretched thin across the challenging terrain. The additional battalion were tasked with strengthening key defense positions, ensuring that every strategic point along the border was well protected against incursions. The deployment of these reinforcements aimed to enhance the overall military presence in the region, improving the army's ability to respond quickly and effectively to any threat. And by increasing troop strength, India sought to create a more resilient and capable defense line, one that could withstand and repel any potential advances by the Pakistani forces. And this strategic move was vital for maintaining control over Jammu and Kashmir, a region of immense strategic importance. Friends, the reinforced ground forces were not just defending territory. They were securing the future of a region central to the India's national interest. Moving next, by improving the logistical support, friends, in the unforgiving terrain of Kashmir, maintaining a steady flow of supplies and resources is as crucial as the battle themselves. The harsh mountain, unpredictable weather, and limited infrastructure pose significant logistical challenges, threatening to undermine military operations in the region. And to ensure the success of these operations, improving logistical support become an urgent priority. Addressing supply chain issues was the first step, and ensuring that troops receive consistent deliveries of food, ammunition, medical supplies, and equipment was critical for maintaining their fighting effectiveness. This required a coordinated effort to streamline supply routes, overcome bottlenecks, and adapt to the unpredictable condition that could disrupt transportation at any moment. Infrastructure improvement were also essential. The rugged terrain of the Kashmir demanded more than just temporary solutions. Engineers were tasked with building and maintaining roads, bridges, and airstrips that could withstand the harsh environment and support the continuous movement of the troops and supplies. These infrastructure projects were not just about immediate needs. They were investments in sustaining long-term operations in the region. The focus on improving logistical support was about more than just keeping the troops supplied. It was about ensuring that military operations could be sustained over long haul, despite the challenging conditions. And by addressing these supply chain and infrastructure challenges, India aimed to secure its position in Kashmir and ensure that its forces remained resilient and ready for whatever lay ahead. Moving next, gentlemen, on the volatile Indo-Pakistan border, keeping troops supplied and in sync was a race against time. The rugged terrain made traditionally supply routes unreliable, So airlifting essential became a game changer. Helicopters swiftly delivered ammunitions, food, and gear to remote outposts, ensuring our forces stay battle ready. Gentlemen, but supplies were not enough. Communication was the key. With the advanced radio and new communication towers. Troops could coordinate in real time, responding to threats with precision. And these efforts were not just logistical fixes, they were crucial moves that kept India's defenses strong and its troops connected. Friends, as we wrap up, let's revisit the key points from this intense chapter of history. Friends, we have explored the escalating tension in the Kashmir that set the stage for the conflict, the strategic deployment of Indian military forces to defend the region, and the emergence of the First Indo-Pakistani War. This was a period marked by the complex geopolitical maneuver where every decision carried immense weight for the future of the subcontinent. And through these events, we have seen that how determination to secure Kashmir shaped not just a military campaign but a very destiny of India and Pakistan. In this video, friends, we have delved into the defensive strategies deployed across three crucial regions: East Punjab, Rajputana, and Kathiawar. Each region faced unique challenges requiring tailored approaches to ensure security. In East Punjab, we saw the deployment of infantry divisions and brigades, vital for protecting against the potential cross-border raids. Rajputana defenses was bolstered by integrating local state forces and strategically positioning troops in Ajmer, ensuring a unified front. Meanwhile, friends, in Kathiawar, coordination between central and the state authorities, along with the deployment of the ground forces, secured the region from the threat. And last, as we conclude, friends, it is clear that the Indian military faced immense challenges during this critical period. Internal security duties stretched resource thin, outdated equipment and maintenance issued hampered readiness, and a shortage of experienced officers strained leadership. These challenges underscore the urgent need for reinforcement and enhance the logistical support, particularly in the harsh Kashmir region. And despite these obstacles, the determination and resilience of the Indian forces shone through, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to defending the nation's border. The road ahead was tough, but with strategic reinforcement and improved support, India military was prepared to meet the challenges head on. Friends, here we come to the end of part 2, chapter 5. Friends, please do like, share and subscribe with your friends and stay tuned for more updates. Thank you.